Welcome to Playtest Saga.
Let's dive into the Warlock a little bit here, because there's a lot more to dive into the Warlock. A lot of this stuff is fairly standard. Looks like their starting evasion's 10, so that's a little bit of a small thing. Hope feature, we're just going to go top to bottom. It's just easier this way. Patron's protection. On a successful attack against you, you can spend 3 hope. If you do, the GM must spend a fear to make the attack hit or it misses. Okay. That's not bad. I feel like the GM oftentimes does have a lot of fear, so I don't necessarily think this is a very obvious use. But for 3 hope for the GM to spend a fear, that's a pretty big like power exchange, because you're spending 3 hope as a player. The GM is spending 1 hope themselves. So for the time it takes for you to generate three hope, the GM is losing 1 fear. You're losing 3 hope. They're losing 1 fear. I don't feel like that's equal. I feel like maybe that's rough. I feel like that needs help. Not super impressed on the first read. Agreed. But we'll see what happens. I think maybe there might be something that could come up. I think I might even like it to where maybe it's like you spend 3 hope. I don't even know how to make this. I like the idea though. I think the hope feature is cool. I think spending 3 hope for a patron to protect you is a cool thing. Maybe you can't add evasion because evasion's like a permanent thing. And you don't want to do armor because then you're taking it away from the Guardian, who already kind of has a precedent of adding armor with 3 hope. Anyways, let's say that there. Let's zoom in a little, just so that way it's easier to read for your eyes and for my eyes. Okay. Class feature. Warlock Patron. You have a patron to whom you've committed yourself in exchange for power. Create a name for your patron right above. Then add 2 boons that represent your patron's spheres of influence and set their values to +3. Anytime you increase your tier, these boons also permanently increase. Interesting. Not sure what to make of that. We'll see how these boons work. Before making an action roll where the boons would be applicable, you can spend favor to call on your patron and add it bonus to the roll. So this boon works as an additional experience on top of your normal experiences. Let's keep reading just to see how it sells it to me. Favor. Start with 2 favor. During a long rest, pay 1 of your downtime actions as a tithe to your patron. When you do, gain 1d4 favor from them. If you choose to forego this offering, the GM instead gains a fear. Okay. So the patron is helping you with your abilities to spellcast, and in favor, gaining higher levels of success. It's interesting. I wonder, though, if the Dread Domain does have stuff that deal with boons, but then the issue with Dread Domain as you continue to scale it is now if somebody else wants to pick a Dread Domain, that class must also have something involved with boons. This could be interesting. The GM taking a fear, though, I think is a must start with. Like, you basically, I don't know. I feel like this can be good as if this is the negative, because remember, these are still plus bonuses. With Daggerheart being a more of a bell curve, you have more higher or more normalized averages of 13. So a +3 and then plus an experience. Say you're using that's an automatic +5, so that's an 18. Most tier 4 adversaries are just hitting 18. So I think this is pretty good, especially at low level. You have this right off the bat. Your 13 at base can be a very easy 18, which is basically almost always going to succeed. Now, the GM giving fear, I think, can be problematic, but it just depends on what we see in the Dread Domain. If we see a good amount of stuff in the Dread Domain, then that might change my mind. But right now, I'm whelmed. Not underwhelmed or overwhelmed, just whelmed. We'll see what happens here. Fairly standard stuff. Scepter, leather armor, agility. Looks like it might be a presence, which if we're following the format of Dungeons and Dragons, charisma presence is about the same. Presence is likely the spellcast roll. Though, does it say? Does not say. I don't know where on the sheet it is supposed to say. Okay, background questions. What desperate situation led you to pledging your life before Patron? Fairly standard. I feel like we get that a lot with our D&D Warlocks. Your patron has given you one task to accomplish above all else. What is it and why does it worry you? That's fairly standard for a Warlock. You and your patron are similar in a very specific way. What characteristic do you share and how do you feel about it? Okay, fairly standard. I think I actually really like the last question. I think you could also like possibly in a setting maybe speak with your GM about what if this is a flip? You and your patron are distinctively uh, dissimilar. You could flavor that question there. Okay, connection questions. I like this. I like the Warlock having connection questions because one thing in D&D that I see a lot of times with Warlocks, and sometimes even sorcerers, and really anybody with a secret, is nobody knows about the Warlock's patron, and this one makes it so that there's one person at the start. So I confided about you, about what my patron says and does, why. Kind of gives you that connection to the people that you're already traveling with, that you have a patron. So people know about this. It becomes this mechanic that this kind of not this like wiggle room. I like it sometimes to an extent, but this definitely does take away naturally coded where the patron is not a secret to the party. You once saw me tithe to my patron. How? And it's changed how you interact with me. What did you see and how has it affected you? I like the question. Really great question. Once I did something very foolish, and you have never let me live it down. What was it? Really like the question. I like that. Well, at least one of the questions isn't necessarily patron tied. But yeah, cool. Fairly standard, pretty good. Let's see if they get any extra things in the level up. Otherwise, other than being standard, standard. Nothing new here. But yeah, Chris, by far my favorite thing about Daggerheart is connection questions. This is one thing I refuse to not let my players do when I'm teaching Sablewood Messengers and like teaching the game. Connection questions are like built in. I have to do that. It's by far my favorite thing. I even do it for one shots because I just love the mechanic. Okay, so we have 2 packs: Pack of the Endless, Pack of the Wrathful. Let's look at Pack of the Endless. I know I just scrolled up and down, so sorry for everybody else. Work in progress. I'm interested to see the art though. The art is going to look sick because they've done so well on the art. Pack of the Endless. Foundation, Present Spellcast Rate. Okay, so this is where it's at. Patron's Mantle. Mark a stress to transform into a terrifying visage that lasts until you take severe damage or the scene ends. While transformed, you can spend a favor in place of an armor slot. Okay, favor can be interchanged for armor. Interesting. You have advantage to intimidate a target. This does end up being odd for a Inferis Warlock then, because of the natural advantage. And also for not Scumborn. What the heck is it called? Scumborn is not it. It's the secret ones. What are they? Slyborn. You have advantage to negotiate criminals, so this could be used here as well. So kind of has a little bit of too much overlap. I think this needs to be a little different, maybe. Before you roll, risk it all on a death move. You can spend a favor to add one of your boons to your hope die. Okay. This is pretty good, honestly. Yeah, the interactability with Scumborn, yes. The interactability with your favor, I think, is going to make favor good. If the dread domain interacts with favor, it's going to be good. Once again, the issue is this is going to be a very difficult one. So now, how do you give the dread domain to another class? I like this avoid death, but for growth of expansion, creating a domain. Oh no, wait, this isn't a domain. This is a Warlock feature. I lied. Never mind. Leave me. It's a Warlock feature. All right. Specialization, draining invocation. When an adversary targets you or an ally within very close range with an attack, you can spend a favor to make them roll a d12 instead of a d20 on the attack. Additionally, the adversary must mark a stress, and you can clear a stress. How often does this happen? Oh, as long as you have favor. So, specialization, we're at tier 5. Let me look back again. Starts with 2 favor. Okay. The boons are what increases when you're at tier 5. So your boons are now at tier 5 instead of +3. Okay, good. Scrolling back down. So this is really good. Bringing your d12. So your average hit die for this now drops down to a 6-7 or a 6-5. the GM still has a chance to hit Guardians, but actually, that's actually pretty good for giving the Guardians a chance at not getting hit. Obviously, there's the modifier, so a +1 at tier 1, +2 at tier 2, +3 at tier, or +2, 1 at 1, 2 at 2, 3 at 3, 4 at 4. If you're using the improvise sheets, that's pretty good. You're basically making Rangers not hittable, but marking a stress and clearing a stress, I think, is really strong. This does require you to be by your allies, which I think, depending on how you build your Warlock, could be interesting positionally. Like, do you play then a Paladin? Like, could you make this a Paladin? Could you go heavy armor and then go with like a rapier as a presence weapon? So that way you're in the thick of it with all your attacks? Dude, this is actually really strong. Like the Pack of the Endless for something more of a frontline tanky Warlock sounds so cool. I'm super down for that. Okay, Pack of the Endless, Mastery, level 8 is the earliest you can get this. Once per long rest, spend a favor instead of marking hit points. Solid. Actually, super solid. Very super solid. Oh no, Rachel's going live right now. So Rachel on the Faint Divinities just put an announcement on the thing. I'm just looking at a Discord. They're going live right now. If you want to go say hi to over there, say hi, because she's gonna talk about all the hot gossip at Tricky Teas. What is it called? It's the Geeky Teas. I want to go over there, but I want to read through this. Draining Bane. The target of your draining invocation also becomes temporarily drained. While drained, all their attack rolls use a d12 instead of a d20. That's pretty good. That's a really solid one. I don't know who said that the Warlock was not just mid, but this is solid. Some stuff needs to be adjusted. I think they can go up and down a little bit with how some of the features work so far, especially the hope feature. But this is pretty good. So let's see. Okay. All right. Pack of the Wrathful. Let's look at this. Presence. On a failed attack roll, you can spend a favor to re-roll the attack. If it fails again, you mark a stress. Kind of rough, but kind of warranted, I guess. But this is true advantage, though. So this is interesting because it's permanent. You can spend a fear, and as long as you have it, or spend a favor, and it is true advantage, like 5e's advantage, rather than just the plus d6. And this still can stack with experiences and all that stuff too. So that's cool. I would like to see them change this wording to, rather than re-roll the attack, like maybe re-roll the attack, but then choose which one you want to take, just in case your first one was higher. Because the wording doesn't specify that. Energy drain. When you succeed with a hope with an attack roll, instead of taking hope, you can have the target choose to mark a stress. Kind of hard because hope is the strongest resource in the game. Overall, a GM's worst nightmare is not a strong party. A GM's worst nightmare is a party with hope. So, this one's a little whelming. Pact of the Wrathful. When you make a successful attack roll with fear, you can spend a favor to reroll any number of your damage dice. You continue spending favor to reroll these dice as many times as you like. I want to look at how to gain favor again. I'm pretty sure it's just during a rest. But I feel like you need more ways to gain favor. Because favor is a resource that can go away pretty quick. I feel like favor needs to be a flexible resource. Okay. When you spend favor to imbue your primary, or you can spend favor to imbue your primary weapon with your patron's power. When you do, add an additional d6 to all damage rolls you make with it per favor spent until your next rest. This is not powerful. A d6 is not that much at level 8. Mastery you get at level 8 at the highest doesn't really feel great. Patron's rest once per rest. When you take damage, you can spend favor for each target within close range. For each you spend a favor for, they must mark a hit point. Now that is a strong feature. Once per rest, when you take That's a strong feature. I like that feature for a level 8. Really strong. Really like it. Solid. But once again, this only happening during long rests is really rough. Start with 2 favor. Is a start with 2 favor per session at the start of a session? That's another thing that I want to mark down for notes. I don't know. I feel like favor needs a lot of work. I feel like the balance isn't there. The feel isn't there. It feels like you're punishing the player a little too much for the benefit you gain from the Warlock Patron. At least for Pack of the Wrathful. Pack of the Endless, I actually really like. I think Pack of the Endless is really cool. Yeah, Pack of the Endless is solid. If I was playing a Warlock, I'd play Pack of the Endless. I would not touch Pack of the Wrathful. Unless I'm playing high level and I can guarantee myself to get Patron's Wrath. Okay. How's everyone else feel? How's everyone else feel? I'm kind of look at the comments here a little bit. Let's see, Daniel Grace. I like one subclass from each class. Okay, my only complaint is to me both classes obviously have one better subclass. I agree. I think. Well, I haven't seen the fighter. We'll see how the fighter is. I think for the most part, how Daggerheart currently is, it's perfect. Like Daggerheart really is perfect for like how the subclasses are. So I'll kind of scroll over here while we look through. This is basically what I am doing. Nope, this one. So this is how this is, here's the thing. When I saw Taliesin doing this on stream, I was like, he's taking my idea. But then I was like, the reality is I'm probably not the only one. But I put all my stuff in a binder. So it's coded because of how everything works by factors of 9 and 3s and multiples of 12. It works perfectly because of how everything works. So you have the 18 ancestries, 9 and 9. You have the, technically, both. I put both of them in one sleeve since they're both basically the same, so that way I have it organized. But ancestries, communities, and then I start with the class choices. And so, kind of why I pulled this out, Daniel, I think Troubadour and Wordsmith. I personally do think Troubadour is a little bit better, but they're both good. They're both super playable. I like Warden of Elements better in terms of feel, but Renewal is really strong for healing. I think Stalwart's technically the strongest, but the reality is Guardian's hell is strong no matter what, so it doesn't really matter. Ryloman, hi, welcome to the stream. Beastbound, obviously great. Wayfinder, super strong. Kind of annoying a little bit as a GM because it's hard to play against. Like I can just get there. Nightwalker strong. Syndicate, my personal favorite subclass. I know I'm covering my face on the screen. Divine Wielder, Winged Sentinel. I like Divine Wielder a little bit more because I'm not necessarily a guy who really likes flying, but both are super playable. And then Elemental Origin, Primal Origin, basically the same thing. Call of the Brave, hot take. Call of the Brave is better than Call of the Slayer mechanically. I don't care what anyone says. I think generating hope for your team is the strongest thing that you possibly can do in Daggerheart because it gives you higher flexibility on what you want to do as a player. So Call of the Brave, I personally think is stronger than Call of the Slayer, but they're both viable, really great classes. School of Knowledge, School of War, I like Knowledge better because I like the consistency of experiences, but School of War is also really strong. But regardless, there might be one that I might favor more, or might be something that someone else favors more, but totally playable. As far as I'm seeing with the Warlock classes, I don't see the same level of strength. Oops, this one. Labeling the wrong ones. Anyways, but it's very clear to me Endless is very strong. Being able to change the GM's die from a D20 to a D12 is incredibly strong, especially when it comes to the mastery of being able to target a solo adversary this way. But Wrathful, there's just way too much hope and favor cost for how much favor you can generate, because you can only generate at max 4 favor per long rest. So you can only use your feature 4 times. So for these abilities, for Pact of the Wrathful, you can only do this reroll thing 4 times, which arguably could be just as strong. I don't know. We'll definitely have to play with it. Let's dive into Dread Domain. Hold on, let me finish reading through some of these questions here before we dive into that. Any questions? A lot of meh. Javelin Entertainment, Austin over there with the whelmed. Chris, I see that you're talking about the Discord. I cannot keep track of the Discord right now. But yeah, it's super like there's so much going on. Um, but yeah, great idea too, Chris. I like the binder. Thanks for the binder. Like the clarify, come on, I don't care all about power. Yeah, no, I mean, Daniel, I also agree. I don't really care much about power, but I do think that in terms of playability, wrathful does not feel good to play, which then would translate to is it fun to play? And I want to have a lot more. I want my players to basically have a lot more fun playing the game. And I don't think wrathful gives you a lot of fun because it doesn't give you a lot of options. And I think in some ways the way that Daggerheart gives you some of the options and sprinkles it with making the game, I think it's just. I don't think that wrathful just does that. I don't think it feels good. But yeah, so let's look at some of these domain abilities. So yeah, that's right, 3. So first we are sharing, what do they share? They share Grace and Wrathful. So let me pull over to Grace, which is color-coded in pink. I also, one thing about this binder too, and I won't change the screen, but I also coded them to what they are in the back. So anytime I go to my pink section, that's going to be Grace. So I just want to have this so that way I know what I'm pulling from. So I have Enrapture, Deaf Deceiver, and Inspirational Words. I won't go over what those do, but I want to say, but just in comparison to the Dread domains to the other options is kind of the only reason I'm having this open. So make a spellcast roll against a target with fear, or within far range. On a successful attack, target takes d6 magic. Okay, using your proficiency, and the next time the target deals damage to an ally, it's reduced by d6. Cool, Blight. I like this. If you succeed with fear, the target instead takes a d10 worth of damage using your proficiency. Okay, I like this. Very backwards mechanic to normal. When you want to roll with fear. Interesting. Don't know how I feel about that. Because it's a little counterintuitive. Or I guess it's not counterintuitive. No matter how you go about it, there's going to be a plus to whether you roll with fear or hope. Either it's going to be you either gain the hope, or if you roll with fear and give the DM a fear, you get to take they take an extra damage. So that's not bad. Voice of Dread. You can magically speak directly into the ears of a creature you see to torment them with your words. So make a spellcast roll against them. On a success, they must mark a stress and become temporarily vulnerable. Okay. I would like this at a level 1 to, rather than to be temporarily vulnerable, I think there should be a time. I think it should work similar to, it's yellow. I think it should work similar to Bolt Beacon. Bolt Beacon changed too. They are temporarily vulnerable and glows light until this condition is cleared. So, never mind. This is the same precedent as Bolt Beacon. Yeah. Okay, this is good. If this is the same precedent, I did not know that. I now need to clock that in for the games that I run tomorrow and the rest of the weekend. Vulnerable is a condition that happens with Bolt Beacon until I clear it as a GM. Noted. Okay, Umbral Veil. Make a spellcast, roll 10 on a success. Spend any number of hope and place them equal to the number of tokens on this card to encase yourself in shadowy energy. After an attack roll is made against you, you may spend a number of tokens to gain a +1 bonus to your evasion per token against that attack. I think that's reasonable. This is definitely one of those things that you do not take with a frontline Warlock. You want to take it with a backline Warlock. So, cool. Okay. Nothing too crazy there. Level 2, Tell No Lies from Grace, Troublemaker, and Hypnotic Shimmer. That's what these are fighting against. I think the level 1 abilities are worded well. Austin, Javelin Entertainment. Voice of Dread, every turn seems like it could be strong. Yeah, I would say that this Voice of Dread is pretty strong. I actually really like this. Marking a stress and making them vulnerable, even at higher levels, is still like a really solid, like, Warlock, Eldritch Blast. Like, you can pull this thing at high level and still do pretty well with it, I think. Especially because it's 0 cards to unvolt. Okay, let's see. Hideous Reputation. When an ally within close range takes damage from a target you see, you can make a reaction roll against the target. On a success, mark a stress, and deal a d6 magic damage using your proficiency. It's okay. Yeah. Okay. Austin, if you misread and now you think, no, it does deal a stress, does it not? They must mark a stress. Yeah, it deals a stress to them. Yeah, they must mark a stress, and they become temporarily vulnerable. Yeah, delta stress. Siphon Essence. Make a spellcast roll against a target within far range. On a success, once per short rest, the target takes 1d8, or just a d8 damage using proficiency, and you clear 2 hit points. If you succeed with Fear, once per short rest. Okay, only happens once, Siphon Essence. I think this is fair. I might make this a level 3 card. Oh, hold on. I forgot. These are the only 2 cards. So maybe this one I feel like is not as strong as a level 2. Maybe needs to be bumped up a little. Or I think it might be a little too strong with the amount of health that you're healing. But yeah. So with Voice of Dread, most creatures at tier 1, so when you're probably picking this up, have on average like 2 stress maybe. So you're hitting them temporarily vulnerable and then hitting them hard. Yeah, this is a lot of healing on Siphon Essence early on. 2 to 3 is pretty good. I think either you reduce the healing or maybe like 1 or 2 hit points. But then, or you can take this and just bump it up. I think at 3 you're solid. I think at 3 this is that power fantasy that you're trying to get. Terrify, make a spellcast roll against a target within far range. So we have Hypnotic Shimmer as another one. On a success, the target marks 1d4 stress. You can choose to make the target run 1 range away from you. You can spend a hope to make the target temporarily vulnerable. Okay. I do think that it's funny to go from far to very far. Like, that's a lot of distance that this dude's like running away, especially at how far they are. I think Terrify might be like better worded if like you make him run to far range, maybe. Because that means that the GM's then required to make a roll, an agility roll, to get back into the fight. So I think far range is doable. I don't think it necessarily needs to be like 1 range away from you. I think that sets a weird precedent for like wording wise. Yeah. Far to very far is like a massive distance. I think if you just make Terrify similar to how Whip works, because Whip is like when you make the attack roll, it sends everybody, I think, to very close, or Whip sends everyone to either very close or close range, something like that. But up to far range, I think is one of those things like it's making someone from close and you're making sure they get away from you. And it is that level of Terrify because remember, like there's no time frames, but you're basically sending an enemy away. And once again, you're also going against their spellcast roll. So I don't know, maybe up to far might be a little bit, but very far, maybe you have it where it's like up to far range. So they don't go from far to very far. So say it's like they can move 1 range away up to far range. And like instead of this close to far, yeah, because very far is like get the hell away from me and never come back on the map. Yeah, I agree, Daniel. Cool. Shared trauma. Once per short rest, you can redistribute any marked hit points between 2 willing targets that you touch. I like this. I actually really like this type of ability. I think shared trauma you bring down to 2, and then you bring Siphon Essence up to 3. I think you make that switch, and it's like super solid. I think the power level's better there. Because they're both once per short rest. One is a redistribution amongst yourself. The Siphon Essence is a distribution between you and an enemy. I think that holds more value than redistributing hit points amongst allies. Maybe my opinion. I might be a little off, but I think those 2 can switch in terms of like power feel. Once again, going off of vibes and experience at the table, playing with like level 1 through 10 at this point. Level 10 is when I think is going to be like the hardest thing to balance, and that's just of every single game. In a different stream the other day, we were talking about how someone really likes to play support Warlocks. It's very hard in 5e. Yes, I think that this is a really good way to do a support Warlock, the shared trauma. Yeah, I like that. Let's go through 4s. What else do we have? Invisibility is another level 3 ability. Yeah. So I think the other 3s are on par. Withering Affliction, make a spellcast roll against a target with far range. On a success, spend a hope to make the target temporarily withered. While withered, any damage they deal is reduced by 1 hit point. You can only hold this spell on 1 creature at a time. Okay. Just because I want to look at the withered condition in the Witherwild. That's I think the issue here. What's up? You know what, Jeremy? I know that that's your name because we've had conversations before. I don't know how to say this word. How do you break down the pronunciation of your word for your name? Sickety wicked? Sickety wicked? I think that sounds right. Sickety wicked. If I said that right, just tell me if I said it right. Anyways, withering affliction. This condition for temporarily withered needs to change only because we have a withered condition within the Wither Wilds. If you're playing in a Withered Wild campaign, that would be confusing. Can really be anything. They can do whatever they want. Call it whatever you want, but can't call it withered because we have a precedent of this. And sick it wicked. Okay, I think I said it right. Sickety. Okay, cool. Yeah, because this one, anytime PC takes severe damage in the with a withered adversary, they must roll a fear die. If they roll below equal or below the number of withered tokens, they immediately gain a scar and clear all tokens in the Witherwild. That cannot be any damage they deal is reduced by 1 hit point. Withering Affliction just needs to change. In terms of the balance of this, you can hold 1 spell on this creature at a time. I think this is pretty good. Afflicted might be another good way to word it. Yeah, Afflicted's probably a better alternative. Good call. I think this is balanced in comparison to Through Your Eyes. I think it kind of fills the same power level in Soothing Speech. So Soothing Speech is going to maybe this is a little strong for 4 because reducing every time by damage. So that means we're thinking about this mechanically. If you are withered, if an enemy is withered, their damage is reduced by 1 hit point, which is basically giving every player, oops, just hit my mic, which is basically giving every player a free armor slot per attack until the conditions ended. So it's temporary, but I can see this being fairly balanced for what it is. Okay, I'm not gonna complain. I'm not gonna critique too much. Actually, I think this is good. I think this is fine. Summon Horror, and once again, this is my opinion. Disagree with me if you want. Tell me I'm wrong. I like being told I'm wrong because then it gives me feedback on how to understand things better and how other people feel. Summon Horror. Sounds cool. Can't wait for the art. I think this art would look really, really sick. All of this art is going to look so sick when it comes out. But make a spellcast roll against a target within far range. On a success, spend a hope to call forth a large fiend or otherworldly creature to attack them and deal D10 magic damage using proficiency. The target must make a reaction roll to steal themselves from the horror. On a failure, they deal 1d4 stress. After making the attack, the horror dissipates. I would much rather this dealing 1d4 stress, maybe tied to tears, maybe. Because 4 stress at tier 1's a lot. But 4 stress at tier 4 is also a lot. I don't know. I like this idea of this. It's tied to a reaction roll. I'll take it back. This is fine. Must making a reaction roll of 12 at high tiers. This doesn't matter nearly as much. But this is good. I like this. I like the idea of the summoned horror. I think Warlock should definitely be able to do that. Okay. Spectral Mist. Okay, Spectral Mist is... We have Thought Delver and Words of Discord are the 2 grace cards that we're comparing it to. Make a spellcast roll on a success. Spend a hope to create an eerie mist that gathers around you and your targets within close range. All affected creatures are momentarily incorporeal, allowing them to move through a solid wall. This effect lasts until you have passed through the wall successfully. There is a feature that is part of, I think it's a level 5, Shape Material. Spend a hope to shape the section of natural material you're touching, stone. Okay, this is very on par to a Splendor Domain Shape Material. I think this is fair. This is reasonable based on what we already have in the game. No issue with Spectral Mist. Spend a hope. Spectral Mist is actually a little worse, kind of. No, I mean, it has a downside. It's a spellcast roll. This one just requires spending a hope. So it's equal trade. But yeah, it's basically pass wall. Fair. Halfway through the game, this is your equivalent to level 10 in D&D. Level 10 with pass wall, I think, is reasonable. I don't know what level pass wall is. It doesn't really matter. I'm not playing that system. Dire Strike, spend a hope to summon pure dark energy that consumes your weapon until the next rest. When you make an attack in melee range with this weapon, use your spellcast trait instead of the trait it calls for. On a success, roll a number of d8 equal to your current number of fear the GM has to your level. Has up to your level. Oh, up to your level. And deal that much damage as your adversary feels cold terror seep into the wound. If you have a success with fear, you must target the target must also mark a stress. I do like this idea of whenever you roll with fear, you are supplementing some of the adverse results. I think that's a really great balance mechanic. Spectral Mist is almost the exact same as Codex's Book of Hamet. So that would be blue. I'm going the wrong way. Book of Hamet. Yeah. Though with Book of Hamet, you do gain Plane Gate. So really Book of Hamet you want for Plane Gate, and then Pass Through is just the kind of a cherry on top for that level 7 card. Dire Strike is okay. It's extra damage, so works really well if you're playing that frontline Warlock. Cool. Nothing crazy. I think this might either need to be bumped up a little bit, or just bumped up in terms of like how much damage it does, or bring it down a domain, maybe bring it to level 4. I think Dire Strike isn't crazy. Nether Flames. Make a spellcast roll against all adversaries within close range. You can spend a hope for any you succeed. They must make a reaction roll. 14. On a failure, they take d8 plus 6 using your proficiency, and they are engulfed with dark fire. On a success, they take half damage. So this is just centralized fireball. You can spend a hope on any you succeed. Man, that's a lot of hope, though. Like, say you're swarmed by like 4 adversaries. That's 4 hope to be able to fireball, right? It's okay. The GM, yes, Chris, the GM can store 12 fear tokens. So Dire Strike does. So with that note, Dire Strike would deal more damage at the beginning of a fight if your GM pools, which the dread. Ooh, okay, that's actually a lot of damage. It's potentially a lot of damage. Weaker at the end of a fight, but a lot of damn damage at the beginning. D8's a lot. I think 5 is reasonable then. Maybe even needs to be bumped up. Okay. Yeah, Dread is all about like, I don't know if Dread's necessarily all about wanting to roll with fear, but Dread is about mitigating what happens with fear. In Ferris, let me see. In Ferris allows you to... In Ferris is when you mark, or when you roll with fear, you can mark 2 stress to make it a roll with hope instead. So it would be 5 damage at the time of getting the card. Yeah, that would be a lot of damage by the time you get there with the T12s. That being said, as a GM, I have been playing with the variant rule set for at least now 6 months. I've probably been playing it since October. More so because I was like, why wait? That we already know how the system's going to work. But I've been playing with my max of 12 fear. I almost never max out on fear. There's just way too many opportunities for me to use fear to manipulate the story, manipulate the combat, that I don't think I hit 12 fear. That being said, I did hit 12 fear on my play-by-post game, which Sickety Wicked, you were in, because I made a mistake. And I forgot that I should be using fear. And I just noticed that I was at max when I was counting it up. So I don't hit it very often. Nether Flame, I agree, is weird. I don't really like everything about it. Because it's a spellcast roll. Yeah, it's a spellcast roll and a reaction. It's just kind of weird. And it costs a hope. This is actually bad. Yeah, like now that you pointed out, this is actually pretty not great. Nether Flame's not good. Sickety Wicked, yes. You are currently now paying for it. But in the current game right now, you guys are rolling really well. And so I can't do anything right now. So, anyways, Nether Flame I don't think is really strong, especially when you compare it to that's never upstaged, which is really fun. And Share the Burden, which is also some of my favorite cards. I'm just gonna... I can just do this. Share the Burden. One of the like really great card arts. I really like this art. Just this card art. Open up a new tab. Yeah, I really love this art. Like, look at this art. Oh, low quality because I zoom, but really love that art. Or Matt. Okay. Walk. Wailing Leap. Whenever you deal magic damage to a target, you can mark a stress to immediately teleport into melee with a creature. You make the attack roll, mark a stress. I like it. Not crazy, but I like it. All right, Dread Touched. I like the touched abilities. Let's see if it's as good as I hope it. How as good as I hope it is. When 4 or more of the domain are Dread, you get the following benefits. If you succeed with Fear, you can mark 2 stress to keep the GM from gaining a Fear. Really good. Maybe a little high, but great. Anything as a player you can do to stop your GM from gaining a Fear is great. So, once per short rest, when you make an action roll, you can add a +1 bonus to the roll for each Fear token the GM has stored. Also, really great. Oh, hold on. The theme that I'm seeing here with being able to like stack the fear the GM has against you, given the fact that the fear is, or the GM is basically going to be playing your patron, you're basically taking like the story that I'm starting to see with like how you level up in this game is with the Dread domain, you are kind of starting to get a 1-up on your patron. Like that first, your patron kind of like harms a little bit and like is kind of like like harms you a little bit, right? It's like you're kind of like learning, but then as you level up, you get to use what you've been giving to your patron against them, which is a GM. Okay, I really like that toss back and forth. On a short rest, I think is good. Honestly, I think they should rework Dread Touch. I think they should make Dread Touch the hope feature, the 3 hope feature. This once per short rest. Make the action roll. You can add a +1 bonus to each roll for each fear token the GM has. Because you're getting the Warlock patron assistance, but it's based on how strong the Warlock patron is at the moment. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm overcooking here. maybe I'm thinking too much. Maybe that's bad. Someone tell me that's bad, so I can keep. I'm just gonna keep moving. Wall of Hunger. Make a spellcast roll 13. At level 7, that's pretty low. On a success, you can create a visible wall of writhing necrotic energy in between 2 points within far range. This lasts until you mark your next hit point. Any creatures that are in a wall within it appear or pass through, mark 2 stress, and they must make a reaction roll or be temporarily restrained by the wall. Solid, pretty decent, nothing crazy. But the act of crying and wailing does not compute. There is a point of using Dread Touch if you... Yeah, I would say that there might... Yeah, Prince, there might not be... The most common... Now, I don't... Maybe this is the most common statistically, but at least is how I felt. I felt like when I was playing 5e, I ran into a lot of Tiefling Warlocks. I feel like Inferius Warlocks aren't great here, which is sad. A little bit. It does, though, I will say, it does give you flexibility on whether you want to spend that fear or that 2 stress for the fear. Because remember, it's still a resource. You're, as an Inferius, you have the flexibility of saying, no, I need that hope now. Or no, I don't want to give you that hope. Hope being the most powerful resource in the game. Someone convince me. If someone tries to convince me otherwise, I will disagree with you. So, all right. We're almost at the end of this domain deck. I've been going for an hour. I want to get into the fighter, and I want to build a fighter. A level 1 fighter, because that's the level I'm playing this weekend. But Dark Army, make a spellcast roll 14. On a once per short rest, you successfully summon, you mark, what am I trying to say? Once per rest, on a success, you mark a stress to summon a group of 8 fiends within close range that move with you. Place a d8 on this card and set it to 8, representing the size of your army. This is already really sick. Whenever you deal damage to a target within close range, decrease the value by 1 to deal an additional 1d8 physical damage. When you take the damage, you can decrease the value by 1 or reduce the damage by 1d8. Each time the die is decreased, the fiends act on your behalf, then disappear. When the die value would be reduced to 1, return this card to your vault. This is just cool. Dark Army is a cool ability. It might not be the strongest, arguably, but this is just cool. Um, and I do like being able to summon at higher level. Me personally, this is just me. I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this because I know Summoner is a very popular build. Um, well, maybe I don't have that way in Daggerheart. I don't like summons in 5e and traditional D20 systems because they are so take up so much damn time. This gives you the power fantasy of summons without giving you all the like mechanical slog. This is really good and really strong. I arguably would say bring this down a tier. I want to see more dark armies. I don't know. Like I don't think we need to wait till tier 4 to have a dark army. Or maybe even have like dark army scale. Like maybe we bring dark army as I already don't like there's one of these that I don't really care much for. Maybe it's Umbervale. One of these I don't really care for. Like one of these level 2. What was the one I really didn't care much for? Can't remember now. Take damage. Maybe it's this one. I didn't really like Hideous Distribution. Bring Dark Army down and then make it scale where it's like you start at a D4. Then when you hit tier 3, you get goes to a D6. When you hit tier 4, jumps to a D8. So your Dark Army is like building. I think that would be sick. Bring Dark Army down. Like it's a lot of text on the card, mind you, so I see why. But yeah, dude, I want to see Dark Army at like low level. Like I want to see like you have a small little group and your group's just growing and you get more powerful. Like give me the for those who've seen it, give me the solo leveling, give me Sun Jin Woo. Show me like the start of his arc. Like I'm totally down for Dark Army. I really like it, but I want Dark Army like lower because like this is just too fun. Like this is just a fun ability. They did a really good job of like building the summoning. But yeah, dude, we need to get more Dark Army. We need Dark Army at a lower level. Hashtag Dark Army level 2. I really like this ability. I think this is by far my favorite ability that we've seen of the Warlock. Dark Army solid. Hashtag Dark Army. Okay, let's move on to the other one. Eldritch Flash. You embody the darkness you have dallied with you? Sure. I don't know what that word means. Dallied. Okay, I'm just gonna look at it. Dallied. Actor moves slowly. Or to have a casual romance with or sexual liaison with could be that you embody the darkness you have dallied with while this card is active in your loadout. So stupid. English and multiple definitions for every to indulge yourself with. That's oh yeah, let's you have dillied your last dally. Ryloman, just because I'm seeing this, I'm a fan of the Necromancer class. In concept, I hate how other games do Necromancer. Like, I love the idea of the army, but I don't love the idea of slowing the game to where you're playing like D&D by yourself, which is why I love how Dark Army works, because it makes sense. Yeah, I really like how Dark Army works. I think this makes sense for having the game, still having your group, your posse with you, but not making it where you're playing like 8 characters. Like that's like the worst feeling as a GM. It's like you like when like with summoners and like other systems like D&D, like the worst possible feeling is when what's it called? The worst possible feeling is like when a player has more NPCs to control than the GM. Like that's I always feel bad taking my sweet time in like in an initiative system or like a D&D system, but man, like it feels bad when I'm also working with somebody else who's basically GMing their group. So anyways, that's all I'll say. Eldritch Flex, let's get through this. Let's keep moving. I want to get to the end of this to get to fighter. For every 2 stress you have mark, increase your damage threshold by 1. Okay, pretty okay. That's a little bit of a buff. Whenever you succeed with fear on an action roll, you can spend a hope to clear an armor slot. Ooh, okay. I can dig this. I like it. I like it. Sickety Wicked. I also have PTSD from when I had a summoner druid and I said, what the hell did you just bring? Why are there 8 wolves on the field? I don't know how to deal with this. As a moderately new GM, I think I was like maybe like 2 or 3 years into GMing at that time. I'm like, I don't know how to deal with the summoner, the way the shepherd druid, or what is it? Circle of the Shepherd Druid. Gosh, man, that was like so hard to play. Damnation. Make a spellcast roll against a target within far range. On a success, mark 3 hope and roll a number of d20s equal to your spellcasting trait, dealing that much damage to them. If this damage is enough to defeat or destroy a creature, all adversaries within far range mark a stress. Okay, hold on. This is disintegrate. This is the equivalent to a disintegrate in from 5e. I like this. I'm down. This is damnation. Basically, is Mark. Well, remember, Mark 3 stress works in combination with Eldritch Flesh. For every 2 stress you mark, you increase your damage threshold. Like, stress is one of these things that, like, I find at high level. So from experience, players, when you get to the high level play, so 8, 9, 10, there's a lot of ways to clear stress, but there are also a lot of ways to take on stress. Stress becomes a resource at the high level play, which you're like, I'm gonna make this. It's like I'm gonna basically bump my stress up, and the combats become like super swingy. The GM rolls with advantage because you're permanently vulnerable. You roll with advantage because the GM's monsters are also permanently vulnerable. Like, we have like big swings. Like, you're hitting. Like, I remember Sickety Wicked in one campaign. Like, we hit like level 10, and we were hitting like 20, 27, 20 or 30s like fairly consistently, while the GM on the other side, I'm also swinging really hard too with like my 20s. And so it becomes this like game at higher level where everyone's just swinging hard. And that's one thing I really like about this system. It doesn't feel like you ever have any wasted turns, because at high level, like, everyone's swinging about the same, like, or everyone's swinging the same amount, but everyone's swinging just harder. So it's like big hit versus big hit. It very much feels like in an anime when everyone's like reached a certain power level, you're still like, it's still Goku fighting Vegeta, but now they're both stronger kind of deal. It's still like you very much see the if anybody watch Pokemon, you see like the level of Froakie leveling up, and then now it's like Ash Greninja fighting Charizard, which, once again, and this is my opinion, anybody who's a Pokemon fan, Ash Greninja should have definitely taken out Elaine's Mega Charizard. I don't know how that ended up being a thing, but that's me on another side tangent with Pokemon, just because I really love Pokemon. But Ash Greninja should have won. Like, but you see these like big hits, like you see the growth, and then everyone's just like doing like Mega Z moves, whatever the hell you want to call it. But yeah, I really like that. And now, yes, Jeremy, when we played in that high level campaign, Sickety Wicked, we still had to do all the reverse math and subtraction because of how armor worked, but now armor just like, I'm gonna reduce that by 1 threshold. Easy. So yeah. Prince, everyone fully stressed out, is basically like a scene in an action movie. You have the people on one side sitting like guns a-blazing, and then like taking a second to take a breath. Everyone's like, yeah, it becomes really fun at high level. So yeah, I have no issue with marking 3 stress, because once again, you also probably have features like a bard or a renewal druid who's able to reduce your stress, or even like a guardian and seraph. They can do the same thing. So Sickety Wicked with Elaine winning was pretty rough. Anyways, yeah, I agree. That was bad. All right, let's look at the other level 9, because I really like Damnation. Savor the Anguish. Whenever a creature within close range marks any number of stress or takes severe damage, you can spend a hope to clear a stress or clear a fear that the GM holds. These are so good. Like, we were like, honestly, we were kind of probably struggling a little bit with like the lower end Dread Domains cards, but this high end of Dread Domain is super good. Yeah, Potion of Stamina, another thing that you just chug in and you clear your stamina. These are really good high-end cards. And I say that because I do think some of the other high-end cards and other of the other There's one that I really don't care much for. I don't know where it's at. I'm not going to look through it because I don't want to spend that much time doing that. But I really like these high-end cards. I haven't even hit 10 yet. So 10, we're comparing Encore and Notorious. These are both really good Grace cards, so they have a lot to compete with. Let's see how they do. Invoke Torment. When you deal damage to a creature that has all of its stress marks, so a creature that's already vulnerable, you deal double damage. If it defeats them, you clear a stress. If it doesn't, they're permanently vulnerable. The GM cannot clear. This is so good. Dealing double damage on max stress. These are solid cards. Like you fight, here's the thing. At level 10, you're fighting like ancient dragons. You're fighting eldritch abominations. You're fighting giant lords. Like you are fighting the pinnacle of fights, and to be able to like hold like an ability or hold like a card in your hand just to deal double damage to them at the very end, that's so much fun. I'm really hyped for this. But low level dread, it is one of those things I think similar to Wizard, but Wizard does a lot better job of it. Where low level is very kind of like whelming. It's good, it's fun, it's decent, it's not bad. Like levels 1, 2, 3 so far for dread are kind of okay, but at level 10 to permanently, like, you're at level 10, you're fighting gods at this point, like to fight an eldritch abomination and make them permanently vulnerable. Here's the thing: when you invoke torment, you are not letting them live. They should not live being able to deal double damage, especially if you do like invoke torment. What's another one? Dire Strike could also be a possibility too, or Nether Flame, or some of these other ones, like what's another one here? Siphon Essence. Like there are some of these abilities that you can totally do at low level. Like, could you imagine like just and I'm gonna stand up because I need to get a little bit more into this a little bit, because I'm been sitting and I'm like getting jittery. Could you imagine like going into the fight? You're at the tail end of the fight. You finally matched out Orzgabad, the Eldritch Horror, and you invoke Torment while also using your Siphon Essence that you got at level 2. You siphon their essence, and it's like what's it called? What's the one where they eat the souls? Is that Seven Deadly Sins? There's another one that I feel like they eat the souls of like whatever they kill. Majin Buu. Like, could you imagine like a good guy Majin Buu like killing the Eldritch Horror and then just like Kirby sucking the bad guy and finishing him off with a Siphon Essence? That would be sick. And then like he comes off like unscathed because their hit points are like higher. I really like. Wow, they did such a good job on the high end. Soul Eater, yeah, basically you're just soul eatering them. Soul eatering? Anyways. Okay. Let's finish this off with Avatar Malice. Let's see how well they do on Avatar Malice. You can mark a stress to transform into an Avatar of Malice, gaining the following benefits. All adversaries and close friends must spend an additional fear when using a fear feature. Screw you. Screw you, Warlock. Because that's so strong. When you defeat a creature within close range, you absorb their life essence and clear hit points. Okay, so you just get Majin Buu for free. And then you mark a stress to teleport to a location within very far range. Every time you make an action roll in this form, you must spend a hope if you can't drop this form. Ooh, okay. I was for it until the very end. So I have to think about this, like whenever I'm thinking and playing Daggerheart and like looking and reviewing these classes, I have to think about this from the perspective of the story. I think if you have Avatar of Malice, you now like, because at the very beginning, like let's think about like how you are playing your Warlock at the beginning. If it is weak, if it's intended to have a very weak beginning start, and then at the very end, being incredibly strong, I think I'm okay with this narratively, because you have to think about the fact that the Guardian is a really strong class at the very beginning. It's probably the strongest class in tier 1. Definitely the strong, actually I'm gonna say this: Guardian is definitely the strongest class at tier 1. It's not even a question, not even close. Strongest class at tier 1. Tier 2 and tier 3 still solid, but then at tier 4, I think a lot of the other classes start to overtake the Guardian. Imagine the narrative of the Guardian always protecting the Warlock as they're adventuring, and as they get to this higher level, you have the Guardian or even the Seraph who uses like a Soldier's Bond. I think actually that would be a warrior, because I think Soldier's Bond is a warrior card, right? Let me see. I have it here. Yeah, Soldier's Bond is a blade domain. So a warrior, like the two people that are like some of the two classes that are honestly probably really strong at the lower tiers, just soldiers bonding to fuel the Avatar of Malice. Like that's such a cool narrative flavor that I think would be really, really great to see. So Dread Domain, I think is okay. I think there are some tweaks. We've went over it. I'm gonna make it one of these characters, but probably not today because I do want to go into the fighter. In terms of packs and subclass, Endless is great. Wrathful needs work because actually either Wrathful needs to change or the Warlock's favor system needs to change. Overall impressions of the Warlock are fun Dread Domain. I actually like the Dread Domain overall. I think Avatar of Malice is maybe a little bit weaker. Avatar. So to go to Chris's comment, Avatar of Malice is definitely weaker than Invoke Torment. Though Invoke Torment is basically there's a lot that needs to be done to use it. Avatar of Malice allows you to use it up front. But going back to what I was trying to say a second ago, Path of the Wrathful needs a little bit of work because it's dependent on the favor system, and the favor system is very difficult to utilize with how much favor it uses. Path of the Endless is a lot of fun because it doesn't rely as much on favor, or it's not as detrimental when you use favor, versus Path of the Wrathful being very detrimental. Like you get a lot of negatives for using favor. But that's also supplemented with the fact that favor is hard to regen. If you use all your favor, even at a long rest, you still can't get 5 favor. Like even if you rest, and with that favor also, if you don't offer, the GM gets a fear. So yeah, I just think this is odd. I think what might be better for if you choose not to offer a tithe, maybe you mark 2 stress, right? Like I think the narrative is there that something bad happens, but don't give the GM the resource. Maybe I don't know. I don't love this. I don't love favor. Anyways. All right. I'm going to stop there. I'm going to end the Warlock section and jump into the fighter.
From ink and steel, stories are forged. We are Blade-bound Saga.